Hey, what's going on, guys? In this mini project, we're going to be creating a landing page with a full screen image background. Now, this is something that stumps a lot of new developers and new designers, is how to get it so that no matter how the browser is sized, the background image stays full width and full height. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And what we're building is not going to be anything special. It's not going to be a full-fledged website, but we're going to focus on the showcase, the landing page, the image, and then we're going to add some content down here. We'll style it a little bit. We're going to use a little bit of flexbox. But you'll see if I resize this page here, this browser window, the image is always going to stay full width and full height no matter what until we scroll down, and then we can see the content. All right, and it's completely responsive. If we go down to mobile size, it'll look like this, and you can see the rest of the content. We're using flexbox to align the content here as well as these boxes down here. But again, this is not a flexbox tutorial. If you're interested in learning flexbox, I do have a video called Flexbox in 20 minutes. So that's what we'll be doing today, guys. Hopefully you enjoy it, and let's get started. This video is sponsored by Dev Mountain. If you're interested in learning web development, iOS, or UX design, Dev Mountain is a 12-week design and development bootcamp intended to get you a full-time job in the industry. To learn more, visit devmountain.com or click the link in the description below. Alright guys, so we're going to get started here. We're going to start off by grabbing the image. Now, of course, you can use whatever image you want. The one that I'm using is this beach image from pexels.com, which is a fantastic site for free stock photography. Very high quality images, and you have different sizes to choose from. This is the URL for this image if you want this one. And I'm grabbing the large, which is the 1920 by 1280. So let's click download. And we're actually going to save this to the project folder that I've already created called Beach Landing. Okay, there's nothing in it right now, so I'm going to create a new folder in there called IMG. That's for our images. And we're going to save this file as showcase.jpg. Alright, so now that we've done that, you can see I've downloaded it a couple times. Now that we've done that, I'm going to open up Atom, which is the text editor I'm using, which opened on the wrong screen. Alright, and you can see over here I have my beach landing folder with our image folder. So there's a few other things we need to create here. Of course, we need an HTML file, so we're going to create index.html. And then we're going to need a place for our CSS file, so let's create a folder called CSS. And inside there we'll create a file called style.css, and that should be it as far as the structure. So let's go to the index.html. And we need to generate some head and body tags, standard HTML document structure. Now I'm using a plugin called Emmet, which is absolutely incredible. It allows us to quickly add HTML and CSS abbreviations. I just did a video on it, I think 2 videos back, so you guys may want to check that out. But that allows us to do exclamation and then tab, and it generates our structure for us, gives us head body tags, HTML tags, also gives us a viewport for responsiveness. So very handy plugin, and I'd highly recommend it. So let's go ahead and just change the title. I'm going to call it The Beach, and we're going to have to link our CSS files, so we're going to put in a link tag here. So that's going to be css/style.css. And then we're going to go into the body. Now the main image showcase area, I'm actually going to put in a header tag. All right, so I'm going to say header, and we're going to give this an ID of showcase. Okay, now I can do this here because I'm using Emmet. So I can say header, and then we want an ID of showcase, and then hit tab, and that's what it'll give us. All right, so in this header, we're going to have a couple things. We're going to have an H1. So in the H1, I'm just going to say welcome to the beach. And then we're going to have a paragraph. And I'm going to generate some text here. So I'm using Emmet, so I can say lorem 15 tab. That'll give us 15 words of sample text. Again, if you're not using Emmet, just go ahead and type, put whatever you want in here. So let's go ahead and create a link that's going to be styled as a button. So it's going to be an A tag. I'm going to give it a class of button. All right, and it's not going to go anywhere. I'll just put a hash in there. And then for the text, we'll say read more. All right, so that takes care of our header. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm using a plugin called Atom Live Server, which will allow us to open up this directory on my local host in a browser. Of course, you don't need that. You can simply open up your index.html file. But I'm going to go ahead and say start server. and that's going to open it up in the browser, and this is what it's going to look like so far. All right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold off on the rest of the HTML, the sections below it, because I really want to focus on this part of it, the showcase image. So we'll hop back into Atom, and we're going to go to our CSS. All right, so let's add some stuff for the body. Okay, so for the body, we're going to zero out the margin so there's no spacing around it. You know what, let me split the screen here. Yeah, we'll just, I guess that's good. So margin, and this is auto load, by the way, this Atom Live server. As soon as I save, this will update. So we got rid of the margin around the body. Let's go ahead and change the font because I don't want Times New Roman. It's very ugly. I'm going to say font actually I'm going to use Emmet and just say FF font family :A tab, and that'll give us Arial with a backup of Helvetica and sans serif. Save that and you'll see the font changes. Alright, so let's change the size of the font. I want it to be a little bigger than the default, so we'll say font size, and I'm going to set it to 17 pixels. Alright, and then we're also going to change the color to a brownish color, which is the hexadecimal value of 926239. Alright, and then we're just going to set the line height, the default line height, to 1.6 and save. Alright, so that's the styles for the body. Now we're going to work on the image, the showcase area. Remember, we gave the header an ID of showcase, so we're going to use that. And we want to give it the background image. So background image and then URL. Okay, so the URL, it's going to be .. because we want to go outside of our CSS file and then into the image folder. So into IMG and then showcase.jpg. Now what this has done is it's given the image background to the showcase header, but it's only taking up the amount of the actual content, which is the H1, the paragraph, and the link. So what we want is it to take up the entire thing. Now when you're starting out, you may think that you can just say height 100% like that, but what that's going to do is it's not going to change anything because it's taking up 100% of its content. All right, now we could also set it to a fixed pixel, like if we said 800 pixels and save. That'll make it 800 pixels high, which is okay if your browser is always going to be at that 800 pixel mark, which it's not. You know, a lot of people are going to view your content, your website on different devices, different browsers, different sizes, so that's not going to work either. So what we want to use is we want to use the VH CSS unit. So if we look up CSS units, you know, we have pixels, we have percentages, we have points. What we want is VH, and this stands for viewport height. Okay, so this is the main secret of what we're doing here. And the viewport height, what you can think of is the whole viewport, which is the body of this browser here. Think of it as 100 slices across. Okay, and then you can fill it. You can fill whatever amount of slices that you want. So we want it to cover the entire thing, so we want 100 viewport heights. So we're going to set it to 100 VH and save, and now it's at 100. And by the way, the space you're seeing up here is just from the margin from the heading. Okay, by default. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll just zero out all the margin and padding by using an asterisk right here. Okay, so this is actually called a reset. We're going to set margin 0 and padding 0 by default. There we go. All right, so we have 100 VH. Now, if we wanted to take up half the size, we could do 50 VH and save, and you'll see it takes up those 50 slices of the 100 slices available. And you can do VW as well. You can do it widthwise, but we're going to stick with just the VH. Now, as it is, the image is taking up the full window, but we can't see the whole image. We're just seeing a piece of it. So we want to add a couple extra things here. We want to add a background size property. So I'm going to go right here and say background size, and we're going to set that to cover. Okay, and then we also want to set the position. I want to center the image, so we're going to set background dash position, and we're going to set it to center. All right, so now let's go ahead and save it, and there we go. So now if I go ahead and I resize this, you'll see that it's 100. It's going to be 100 viewport heights. Now if I add some content below it, under the header, let's put in a section. I'm going to give it an ID of section-A. All right, and then we'll just let's put some content. We'll say lorem 100 tab. And actually, let's put that in a paragraph. So lorem 100 tab, save. And now, even though I have some content in there, we have to scroll down to see it because the image, the header, takes up 100 viewport heights. All right, so that's the main ingredient in creating this full screen landing page. Now, I don't want to just stop here and leave you with this, even though we've really covered the viewport height. So we're going to continue to style this. Now, this text and this content, I want it to be in the middle here. There's a few things you could do. You could add, padding to the top. You could center it, but we're going to use flexbox, which makes it really easy to align things, and is really the recommended way to do things like this, at least recommended by me. So we're going to set the showcase to display flex. This makes it a flex container. As soon as we do that, it's going to take all the content within it, all the we have the H1, the paragraph, and the link, and it's going to align them horizontally as flex items. Okay, now there's different properties we can use here to change the layout, and I don't want it to go across like this. I want it to go down. So the default is actually a flex row, but we want to change it to a column, and we can do that by saying flex dash direction, and we're going to set it to column, and we'll save that. And now it's going to go vertically instead of horizontally. Now I want to set it to the center. I want it aligned to the center both horizontally, and I want it in the middle here, okay, vertically. So there's two properties we need to add here. One is to justify content, and we want to justify it to the center. If we save that, that's going to move it down to the middle, and then we want to align it to the center as well. So we'll say align content center and save. I'm sorry, not align content, align items, and save. And now it's in the middle. Okay, and I have a Flexbox in 20 minutes video that you may want to watch if you want to learn more about Flexbox. So I'm also going to just add a little bit of padding on the sides here, because when the window gets really small, you'll see that the text is right up against it. So let's go ahead and just say padding. We'll say 0 top and bottom, and then 20 on the left and right. Okay, that way when the screen is really small, it has some space on the sides. So now let's take care of this stuff in the middle. So we'll start with the H1. I'm going to make it a little bigger. So let's go over here and say showcase H1, and I'm going to set the font size to 50 pixels. Okay, so make it bigger. And then I'm going to set a margin bottom. Actually, no, we don't need the margin bottom. I was going to do that because I didn't have this reset up here at first, but I'm just going to leave the reset. All right, and what that reset does again is just takes away the margin and padding from all elements on the page, because by default H1s and paragraphs, they have default margin, so that's just going to remove it. So for the paragraph, I want to make that we'll say showcase paragraph, and I just want to make the font a little bigger on that. So we're going to say font size, and we're going to set that to 20 pixels. All right, and then for the button, or it's actually a link formatted as a button, so showcase, remember we gave it a class of button. So for that, we're going to change the font size to 18 pixels. And we're going to take the underline off, so text decoration, we're going to set that to none. We're going to change the color to that brown color, which is this right here, this hexadecimal value. Okay, we're also going to add a border around it. If I save it so far, it's going to look like that, but let's go ahead and add a border. Border is also going to be that brownish color. So just grab that, we'll say 1 pixel solid. We also want some padding. So padding is going to be 10 pixels top and bottom, 20 left and right. And then let's make it a little rounded. So we'll say border radius. We'll set that to 10 pixels and save. And there's our button. All right, now we're going to have to push it down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is add a margin top of, let's try 10 pixels. Actually, let's try 20. All right, so that's good. Now, when I make this smaller, you'll see that it messes up. That's because we need to add a text align center to the items in the showcase as well. So right under align item center, let's do text align center. There we go. All right. Now the line height for the heading, you'll see when it breaks into 2 lines, I want this a little smaller. So what I'm going to do is in the H1, I'm going to set the line height. We'll set that to 1.2, save, and that looks a little better. All right. So that's the showcase. That's the whole showcase. Now what I want to do, actually we want to take care of the button hover. I want it to have an effect where the background turns brown. So real quick, let's just say showcase class button. On its hover state, we want to add a background of this color here. And we want to make the color of the text white. Okay, so now we have that hover effect. All right, so the showcase is done. Now let's move on to the sections. I'm going to go back to the HTML. Let's just make this a little bigger. All right, and we have our section A here, and we're going to have a section B as well. So I'll just copy this whole thing, and we'll go ahead and paste that in, and we'll change this to section B, and then we're going to have a section C. Section C is actually going to have 3 divs within it. So let's say section ID will be section-C. And then in here, we're going to have a div with the class of box1. And let's put lorem, we'll put 20 words in here. And yeah, so let's copy that. We're going to have box1, box2, and box3. All right, so if we save it, this is what it's going to look like by default, just a bunch of mess. So let's go back to our CSS. And let's see. We're going to add some padding to, we're going to start with section A. So ID section A. And we're going to add 20 pixels padding. Okay, so 20 pixels padding. Let's add a background of the brown color. Now we can't see any text because the text color by default is that brown color. So we're going to go ahead and just change the color to white. All right, and then let's just text align center. All right, there we go. Now for section B, I'm just going to copy this. So section B, again, we'll have 20 pixels padding, but the background, we're going to say the background is going to be very light gray, so F4 3 times. And then the color is going to be the brown color, which is the default, so we don't actually need a color. All right, so let's save that. And there we go. And then for section C, I want these 3 divs to be aligned horizontally, so we're going to turn them into flex items. So we're going to say ID section C, we want to display as flex. Okay, once I save that, you'll see that they'll automatically align horizontally. So what I want to do is each, the first and the last box, box 1 and box 3, I want those to have a dark background. I'm actually going to put a dash, box dash 1, 2, and 3. All right, so let's say we want to take section C, and we want the class of box 1. Okay, we also want section C, the class of box 3. That actually I should have a dash there. Okay, so 1 and 3, and we want the background to be the brown color. So I'm going to grab that, paste that in, and scroll down. We also need to make the color white. Okay, let's actually add some padding to each of these divs here. So I'm going to say section, we'll say section C div, and let's say padding 20 pixels. Okay, there we go. Now the middle one here, you could leave it at white if you want, but I had it at a slightly lighter gray than this gray. So what I'll do is grab that, and let's do box 2, and we'll set the background to F9 3 times. Get rid of the white coloring, save, and now it's light gray, and it's a little lighter than this one. Alright, so that looks good, guys. I think that's it. Yeah, so let's just you know, make this a little bigger, see how it looks. Good. Let's change the height, and notice that the image is going to stay in the background no matter what size until we scroll down. On mobile devices, it'll look like this, which looks pretty good. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this project. I know it was kind of simple, but I think you know, a lot of you guys seem to like these kind of front end projects with CSS and HTML and stuff. I try to keep my content very diverse. You know, I think the other day we did an Ionic 3 mobile app, and now we're doing, you know, CSS landing pages. So expect things to, you know, to be pretty diverse. I want to kind of, you know, reach everybody. So that's it, guys. Please subscribe. Please, you know, leave a like. Follow me on social media. You know, support Patreon. Whatever you guys can do is fine. Or just watch the videos. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. So if you guys really like my videos and you learn a lot from them, and maybe you have a couple extra dollars to spare, check out my Patreon page. I'm working on creating special content for patrons. You also get special deals on future courses, and there's even an email support tier for all YouTube videos and projects. To learn more, visit patreon.com/TraversyMedia.